Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a digital phenomenon that we literally all encounter every single day. But, we rarely actually stop to think about it. I'm talking about website cookies. We're going to demystify the invisible machinery that's constantly operating just beneath the surface of the web. And to do this, we're using a real-world case study. We're looking under the hood of a news website called Daily Sabah, and we're analyzing their actual cookie declaration policy to see exactly what happens the second you interact with their site.
So, be honest with me here. Have you ever just blindly smashed that Accept All button on a cookie banner just because you were in a rush to read something? Imagine you stumble across this fascinating article on the site about AI grief bots and how they're changing the future of mourning. You're completely hooked, you just want to read it, but right there in your way is this giant annoying consent banner. Without a second thought, you click Accept All just to make it disappear. Come on, we all do it. But what exactly did you just agree to?
Well, the source text provides a pretty blunt reality check. According to the site's own privacy policy, they openly state, these cookies work by identifying the browsers and devices of the user. Advertising is our only income item to cover our costs. And, it's an honest admission. Producing content isn't free, right? For a lot of publishers, this incredibly intricate system of digital tracking and targeted advertising is the primary engine actually keeping the lights on. But the sheer scale of this tracking, that's what we really need to understand today. 135. When you click Accept All to read that single article, you are instantly unleashing a staggering 135 different advertising and marketing cookies directly onto your device. That is 135 distinct trackers from dozens of completely different third-party companies, all deploying simultaneously to watch your digital movements, all simply because you wanted to read one piece of news.
Now check out this breakdown on the screen, because this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the sheer disproportion here. You've got 135 advertising cookies, 93 unclassified ones, 28 for performance, 2 functional, and only 37 mandatory cookies. The tiny little slice of essential mandatory cookies is just completely dwarfed by this massive invisible tracking machine. And this brings us to a really critical distinction we need to focus on: the difference between the cookies a website actually needs to function and the cookies used to market to you.
Section 1. The Foundation Mandatory Cookies. Let's start with the good guys, so to speak. Not all cookies are invasive trackers. Some are absolutely vital. They're basically the digital plumbing of the internet. The policy defines mandatory or technical cookies as essential trackers required for a website to work safely and function properly. The absolute key takeaway here is that they cannot be disabled by the user. If you were to block these, the digital infrastructure of the site would literally just collapse. You couldn't log in, pages wouldn't load securely, the whole site would essentially break.
Just to give you an idea of what legitimate, required background processes actually look like, our source data highlights a few highly technical examples. There's a cookie called AMP_token, which prevents cross-site request forgery. That basically keeps your browsing secure. There's #CFLB, which handles load balancing across server clusters so the website doesn't crash if too many people visit at once. And there's RC/A, deployed by Google to distinguish human users from malicious bots. So this is what necessary tech looks like.
Section 2. The Surveillance Network. Marketing Cookies.
Okay, so this is where things get kind of wild. We are pulling back the curtain on the largest and definitely most invasive category of the cookie ecosystem. Remember, there are 135 of these marketing cookies compared to just 37 mandatory ones. The official definition from our source states that advertising and marketing cookies identify browsers and devices to build interest profiles. Their primary goal isn't to help the website you are currently looking at. Nope. Their goal is to facilitate targeted advertising across completely different websites. They exist to follow you around the internet long after you've closed that initial article.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the core difference we're focusing on today. On the left, we have a mandatory Google cookie, RC/A. Its stated purpose is purely security, distinguishing humans from bots to keep the site safe. Cool. But on the right, we have a marketing cookie from Amazon called Ad Privacy, and its stated purpose? To register user actions and target content based on ad clicks on a completely different website. One keeps the site working, the other profiles your behavior across the web. Night and day difference.
Let's look at some of the recognizable third-party brands quietly operating behind the scenes. This table is pulled directly from the website's cookie declaration.
You've got Criteo dropping a cookie that facilitates real-time bidding for a whole year. You have TikTok tracking the use of embedded services also for a year. You have a company called Depod dropping a cookie to determine exactly what types of devices, smartphones, tablets, smart TVs, you use. This is a massive, multi-corporation operation that triggers in absolute milliseconds.
So, how exactly does this build into a chronological journey? Well, based on the cookie descriptions in the source, we can map out how these marketing trackers operate in 3 steps. Step 1 is syncing. Cookies are used to synchronize and gather your data from several different websites you visit. Step 2 is profiling. All that data is compiled into a highly specific interest profile just for you. And Step 3 is bidding. Your profile is immediately sent out to third-party advertisement hubs, which facilitate real-time bidding auctions for advertisers who want to target you specifically.
But wait, perhaps the most mysterious part of this entire system is this number right here, 93. According to the source data, there are 93 unclassified cookies deployed by this site. What does that mean? These are trackers that the website itself is still in the process of classifying together with the individual providers. That adds a serious layer of concern, doesn't it? When you click Accept All, you are literally accepting dozens of trackers whose specific purpose hasn't even been fully documented by the site that's hosting them.
And it's really vital to realize just how stubborn these trackers actually are. Many of them are not just temporary session files that vanish the second you close your browser. The data shows widespread use of persistent HTML local storage. This means tracking data is written directly into your browser's local storage and can just sit there for months, or, looking at some of the cases listed in the data, up to 10 years, just constantly updating your profile.
So the whole crucial point is perfectly summarized right here in the site's own consent policy. They may be used to build profiles of users' interests and to present users with relevant advertisements on other websites. It is a completely candid admission of the reality of digital profiling. You are trading your behavioral data across the wider internet in exchange for access to their content.
Section 3. Taking back your data. The power of choice.
Now look, you are absolutely not powerless in this transaction. Understanding this invisible machinery actually empowers you. The source text explicitly outlines your legal rights regarding personal data. You have the right to learn if your data is being processed and for what purpose. You have the right to find out exactly which third parties your data has been transferred to. And importantly, you can request the deletion or destruction of your personal data. And you can legally object to the automated analysis of your behavior. You have legal authority over your digital footprint. Which brings us to the absolute core lesson of this explainer. Despite the overwhelming number of trackers we've looked at today, you are only actually required to accept those 37 mandatory cookies. The 135 marketing trackers, the 28 performance trackers, those 93 mysterious unclassified trackers, they're all completely optional. The website will still function perfectly fine, and you can still read the article even if you reject them. By taking just a few extra seconds to click Customize or Reject Non-Essential instead of instantly hitting Accept All, you're actively stopping hundreds of data points from being synced, profiled, and auctioned off. So, knowing what lies beneath the surface and knowing the true cost of convenience, what are you going to click the next time you encounter a cookie banner? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, and keep questioning the digital world around you.